Hi Sagittarius, I'm Empress Rose and we're here for this week's reading. These are general readings, of course, so take what works, leave what doesn't. And all these cards are very thoroughly pre-shuffled off camera. I like to do a very thorough job, so that takes a long time and is boring. So, all right, we're going to start with this Oracle Mystical Moments deck, and I take a intuitive reading off of those to look at where we're going with our regular spread. So we're going to start with that. All right, we need a message for Sagittarius. Sagittarius. Okay. Sagittarius. Sagittarius seem to know this week. Okay. So this is fascinating. Scorpio just got this card. This is the House of Flowers. So here we see this house sort of isolated on this hill. We see, what are these two sisters, two friends, two besties? They're taking a little stroll across the lawn here. And all of the flowers, the whole garden is contained within their home. It's just this, so beautiful. I love these flowers so much because they just have so many petals and they're just so crammed with these beautiful, gorgeous petals. And the house is just full of them. So this is about creating a beautiful home, a beautiful place to live. And it could be, you know, moving in with someone or I can almost smell these flowers. They're so lovely and beautiful. And just the house is just full of them. You're like bees that live within flowers. And so then that brings us to this queen bee vibe here. And again, I see a pair. You know, she's got her hands out. I see she's got a bee in each hand, a flower on each side of her. So the queen bee to me has this dual energy. Each of these bees has a little stinger. So sometimes when I see this card, I get this vibe of this woman a female, feminine energy, who does have some stingers and can really hurt a little bit. But then there's also this like Mother Earth energy of just this towering, imposing woman. And I'm seeing twins almost here, Sagittarius. She just has this towering presence. You know, so it could be a very domineering feminine presence here. But it could also be just a really lush pouring forth of life and petals. Look at, in both of these flowers, I mean, the petals of the ruffles on her gown, she's just huge, and this house is just huge, and these flowers are huge, and these flowers are huge. I mean, is she huge or is she small? Actually, that's a really interesting dynamic. Like, are these flowers just the size flowers are? And she's like a fairy, because these bees are all the same. So she might come across as really imposing and, you know, with this army of stingers, but she's actually just maybe a little bit small and maybe almost fairy size. She's big for a fairy, but she's not like a giantess, which she first comes across as a giantess. So, she could actually be. So you could be looking at someone who just seems like a big deal and isn't actually all that big of a deal, you know? It just comes across initially as a very imposing situation. This house is pretty imposing too. So an imposing situation that isn't actually. Okay, well, let's go to the Santa Muerte deck for the body of your reading. Again, these have been thoroughly shuffled. This is just like an intuitive shuffle. Right, Sagittarius. This is your past, this is your present, this is your internal landscape, this is the issue that you face, this is your environment, this is your to-do list, this is a possible outcome. All right, so in your recent past, this is the Nightmare card, this is like the 9 of Swords. This is internalized pain. You're safe in reality, you're physically safe, you're in this sanctuary, and you've chosen to take on this pain. It's a choice that you made. You're a priest in your own church, in your own sanctuary. You have your own Bible, and for some reason, I believe it was a sacred reason, you took on some pain for yourself rather than giving it out, rather than dishing something out. You absorbed it yourself. It's created sort of a nightmare in your head. So sometimes this can be like fantasies and delusions of persecution and pain. But sometimes I really think that, you know, we look at our situation and we realize that we're going to take on the pain, that rather than spread it around, rather than go to battle, we'll take it on. And it causes depression and anxiety. But I don't want you to be in depression or anxiety, but at the same time, sometimes that's the option. And we choose that instead of an external war. And I don't know, you know, what you're juggling here, so it might have been the better choice. But you're coming out of a period of depression and anxiety, self-imposed. You would need to really look at your environment and see if you actually really did need to impose this, to absorb this pain and this suffering yourself. Because oftentimes it just seems like that's the choice we have, but we don't. So there are many options, but for some reason for you, this felt like the right thing to do in the past was to absorb this pain. In your present situation, we have the Empress. So I'm seeing you come out of this much stronger. The Empress has everything she needs. She has, there's a lot of, she's transformed. She has come from heartache. It looks like something ended too soon before anybody was ready for it. And she's coming from this place of heartache, but she's absolutely transformed this heartache into power, into passion, into a throne where she sits and observes life. She's a little protective of herself, maybe a little, she holds her cards close to her chest. She's not telling everybody about what she's been through. She's, but that power, she wears it on her sleeve. You can see now, you can tell, she's got the unfuckwithable vibe here. So that's where you're sitting. So wow, what a transformation you have just been through. So in your internal landscape, internally you're having to balance things out. So this is a like acclimating. You're acclimating to a situation, or you're balancing two things. You have this jungle, you have the desert, you have the pond, you have the desert, you have the sun, you have the water, you have the angel, you have the death, you have passion, you have growth and stability. So it's something internally, you're juggling a couple different ideas. You're like, so it's like taking, this actually is my favorite depiction of this card of any deck I have, is the flowing from, okay, what if it's like this? Okay, what if it's like that? Okay, what if it's like this? And you're slowly mixing. You're like a bartender who's shaking the drink and getting all the drink around the ice so that you can have this like perfectly temperatured and mixed drink. So she's sort of the bartender. So you sort of have this internal bartender who's like a little bit of this, a little bit of that, let's shake it up. And you're sort of developing these ideas and toying with a couple different ideas, a couple different feelings maybe, and bringing them into balance. So this is the process of bringing things into some sort of balance, into some sort of useful mix, useful cocktail. This is the cocktail waitress of the deck. You're making your cocktail, you're mixing it, you're getting it just right. So these are ideas that need to be like played with and toyed with a little bit until you kind of, okay. All right, it's not going to be this or this. It's going to be some combination of these things. So you're combining some ideas together into a delicious, I need a cocktail hour here. So this is interesting. In your to-issue situation, we have the Seven of Swords. So we have, and this is the issue. This is always the issue. We have this, we have this waking up to what the fuck just happened? What have I just been through? So that this is in your issue card. I'm going to say you've woken up, you've understood it. It's a little much to absorb, sort of the betrayal or sort of what's gone on around you. It's not been pleasant. It's not been a good thing. You had hope and you had reflection. You did a lot of reflecting a lot of internal work. The only thing that kept you going was hope. And now you're just sitting here going, oh my gosh. So this is blocking you. So I'm wondering if you might be a little bit obsessed with, you might be obsessing with this situation, with your depression or anxiety or your mental nightmare. You might be, this is waking up to some sort of deception, some sort of really unpleasant behavior, and starting to understand what's gone on around you. So this is the waking up to that. So that this card is blocking you, or is the issue. I'm wondering if you're either not fully aware of some of the treachery that's gone on around you, but I don't want to freak you out, or if you're overly aware and you're obsessing on it and ruminating. That's what's going. He's ruminating. He's putting it's going over and over in his head, which I totally get. But it's what's blocking you is a need to let go of what happened here, of this sort of nightmare that you woke up from, and need to move on from it somehow. Somehow you have to find a way to leave that in the past and to understand that your future is brighter, is better, is like you are letting go of that because you are the bee and you can smell the nectar someplace else, and the flower you were in doesn't have it anymore. So you've got to move on. And so instead of focusing so much on letting that go, focus more on where you want to go, and where that nectar is that's really going to sustain you and feed you. And then in your environment, we have the Ten of Pentacles. So this is again another I was gonna use the butterfly metaphor of like you attached your cocoon to a branch, and it was a good branch, it was a useful branch, you needed that branch, and then at some point you emerged from the cocoon. The branch has since died, and this branch which once gave you life is now dead, and you have to, once you get that blood pumping into your wings, you have to let go of the branch and go find the nectar that's going to sustain you. And that works both for bees and for butterflies. You can smell it. It's this forward motion. It's this letting go of something that's no longer serving you and has no use to you, and maybe was at one point. So you're going to let that go, and you're moving on to what is. You've got a nose on you that's going to bring you right to these flowers these flowers that are going to give you the nectar. You're looking for that nectar, and you're going to find it, but it's not on the branch. It's not on this past branch. That past branch died. So here we have the Ten of Pentacles. So we have this, this is a transformation of this farm here. The Pentacles in this deck is all, is a farming vibe. So this farm is all used up. The ground's used up, the buildings are used up, they're falling apart. It's this transformation of something, a village, oh my, this dead stick that you put your farm on, your cocoon on. It's done, it's done. There's nothing else it can give you. It's given you everything it can give, and it's time to transform. It's time to move on. It's time to get grounded someplace else, because this ground doesn't sustain you anymore. So it's time to leave this thing that's turned into causing you pain. It's time to leave that and move forward and move on to more fertile ground that that is going to sustain you, because this is all used up. This is the end. This is the end of this cycle. You got everything. You got everything that this farm could possibly provide. The whole thing, it provided it all. It was beautiful for the moment, and now it's time to go forward. So then in your to-do list, we have the Knight of going forward. We have the Knight of Cups. So this is a very heartfelt going forward. This is going forward in love. And he's looking back. So that's what I'm seeing here with this guy too. They're both looking back at this like nightmare, difficult situation that you've been in. They're looking back, but the spirit, the horse, is moving forward. So through the threshold. So your job is to, I don't want to say leave this pain behind, leave this difficult situation behind. I don't want to say leave this dilapidated, used up farm behind. I don't want to say leave it behind. I want to say move forward into this unknown through this threshold, because the wild beast, the beast in your heart, the intuitive part of your heart knows how to find the nectar, knows where it's at. It's in this house. It knows where that nectar is. It knows where it needs to go to find that. And you need to go along for that ride, because you're still looking back at the past. And this is saying, let your instincts guide you to the nectar, to the place that's going to feed you. Let your instincts guide you forward. Because they know exactly, you know, here you are, you're leaving this dead branch. You've got this book showing up a few times here. You've got this book you're leaving with. Is this your journal? You've got this book right here that you've been consulting maybe. There's a book that shows up a few times here. So that's, you know, that might be an interesting message for you. Some sort of message, actually. Maybe this depression and anxiety brought you a really important message, something that you really needed to learn. And you're leaving with that message pared down to the basics, just what you need to know. Carry forward, moving forward, these lessons that you've learned here in this painful, difficult place. So in your near future, you have the Queen of Cups. And I love this because we have the Queen Bee. So we have this deeply emotional, loving gift. And this might be a person in your life, a more feminine vibe that is bringing this beautiful cup, this love. Oh, we've got the same heart here in your present situation, but it's got, oh, you can barely see it. It's got knives through it. It's got pain and knives through it. And here those knives are gone. This is a healed heart. This is a whole heart. And you're either giving it to someone or it's being gifted to you. Just this armful of love and serenity and beauty. It's just really beautiful. So I want to say it's perfume. There's like there's some sort of fragrance here that I keep, you know, I started out with this, and this is really looking to me like a perfume bottle. So for some reason, there's some sort of fragrance here. And these bees are finding it. This butterfly is finding it. There's some sort of, you can smell the nectar. I want to say you can smell the nectar, and it's going to bring you forward. Go towards that pleasant smell. I mean, obviously, that's what we're all doing all the time. move towards the pleasant smells and away from the bad, stinky smells where you're like, what is that? So, all right, Sagittarius, this was a really powerful reading, and I hope you find it really helpful, and I hope that you're able to allow yourself to move forward into new places that can really feed you and sustain you. All right, I have you. Oh, also like, subscribe, and comment. Those are wonderful things that are helping. They are helping my baby channel grow a little bit by bit, week by week, and I really appreciate that. So thank you so much, and I hope you have a wonderful week.